after that top play, it almost felt like both teams weren't 100% in it. You know, HLE Esports even were kind of going crazy after that one, but they just wanted to take every single fight. But let's see how this draft is going to look. GENG moving over to the blue side, and what will they prioritize from the LCK favored side so far?
I feel like there's just so much pressure on red side. Just you only have one ban in the first rotation, and GENG targeting the Maokai, Galio, and the Varus. So Rumble open, Cassante open, Poppy open, Jace open, all open that were banned away in the last draft. I think the top laners, you can trade a lot of these, right? The Cassante, Jace, Rumble, we'll probably see those traded around. But the Poppy might be a pick they want to prioritize.
I think you could definitely go for the Vi pick here and then try to punish if they go for a Rumble pick away. You could do it the other way around and take the Rumble first, give Peanut the Vi, and try to play through the Rumble topside, because Cassante is left open as well in this draft by GENG, but Rumble feels pretty good into it, assuming we don't have lane swaps, which is always a bit of a crazy assumption. But see what they do decide to opt into here. Vi, Aurora, also a pretty powerful duo, if Peanut is still looking to pick that one up. And a very powerful pick in general, and Fearless, very high prio pick in trade.
Yeah, it looks like they will go for the Poppy. One thing we've seen be really popular is the Kai'Sa Poppy. So with Kai'Sa gone, definitely not as, you know, lucrative as maybe we've seen in other drafts, but still a really powerful pick. And when you pair it as well with the Azir, I feel like this really hits the stocks for a Vi pick, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because now, if you look to engage onto this Azir, he just pushes the Vi to the turret, feels very good about it. One of the best anti-Vi mid laners for sure. So if you're going to go for Vi here, you're indexing very heavily into a lot of magic damage too. Like if you go for Vi Ahri right here as GENG, or if you go for Vi Taliyah, you could still pull it off. Taliyah is definitely a playable matchup into the Azir, but it's high risk.
What feels really sad is a pick that's really good into both Poppy and Azir, because you have very long range and not necessarily committal engage, is the Maokai that GENG banned themselves. Yeah. So they will end up committing to the Vi. They want that lockdown. But I think the picks HLE have already make it difficult. There's also potentially things like a Xayah available. I know we're not always the biggest fans of Xayah, but it's often something we see picked into the Vi.
So they are going to kind of go into what I was talking about, the Vi Taliyah here. I do think it's a very good matchup for the Taliyah if played well. Chovy is one of our best Taliyah players, obviously, and there's a lot of power here, and you could even get advantages early on by baiting out the Azir ult and then coming in a second time. If you can just flash for any reason, it's a very powerful 2v2. We'll see what the jungle pick is going to be here, as MS is not allowed, Zeka. Because Peanut could potentially play the Poppy in this draft, but they're going to hold that flex for the time being.
I mean, it seems pretty likely, just given the fact that it is Peanuts, and you know, we don't have that 80 carry match with the Kai'Sa, but the Cassante is just going to come through, and we've seen Rumble picked into Cassante many times, but Zeus is just like, Cassante's still strong. I'll try to get through the lane, or we'll just lane swap, and then eventually I'll try to be in a good enough spot to survive, and then eventually beat Cassante in team fights.
You know, I was talking about the value of like the Poppy, Azir, and now even the Cassante into the Vi, but on the other side, Taliyah is so effective in these three picks, where all three of them kind of want to dash into you to close the distance, to get on top of your backline, and Taliyah's Unraveled Earth is just insanely good here.
Yeah, I actually really am leaning towards GENG's draft, because like they're playing Rumble into Cassante. They have double Leandri's champions to burn through that health pool, Poppy's health pool as well. Now, I do really love this Jinx ban, because there's so much setup for Jinx resets in this composition. And you know, if you're winning the top matchup, you're winning mid, or going even against this Azir, and then Lulu comes up in the bottom lane, it's just, you can end up losing too much prio early. Cassante's not going to like to lane into a Lulu either if it is that lane swap. So I like both of these bans here. Also weakens a potential Zeri pick for Ruler, which would work well with this composition because they have so much setup for the Zeri already. The Xayah, self-explanatory with how much single target blow up this comp already has. Rakan, though, be taken out as well. Rakan into Taliyah doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great into Vi either, so I'm a little bit surprised by that ban.
Yeah, definitely one you struggle with. I feel like Rakan struggles in general into AoE damage because he's so squishy, but the Taliyah in particular is just so painful. But I think a lot of respect given towards the light to this one, and I think also they're considering the fact that like this Taliyah is going to shut down a lot of the tools you have to close the distance now, so having additional tools, threading on flanks is important, and just removing some things from the wheelhouse off the light. Ashe does come in for Viper, which obviously powerful, but difficult to play, I think, into Vi Taliyah Rumble.
Corki would be certainly an interesting one here. Not a whole lot of stocks on this pick in a Fearless Best of 5 necessarily. Pretty strong in the mid game if you can hit that 2-item spike.
It kind of feels like just a worse version of Ezreal. It's like, oh, well, Ezreal's gone, so let's just play Corki. You know, the Lulu already gone, so they can't necessarily go for heavy, you know, scaling. So they're just going to go for Corki, kind of self-sufficient, and then pick up an engage support.
Yeah, I feel like the one other pick I would have been pretty okay with here would have been Draven, actually. You know, you go for dueling with the Ashe, big damage, works well with resets. If you get that cash in early, you just become unstoppable, but very low range and not very safe into the Azir, into the Ashe. And it is just going to be the Xin Zhao here for Peanut to round this one out. They'll not cook it too much with this Poppy pick. We'll leave the Poppy in the bottom lane. I think when you see the Nautilus lock in there, you feel pretty comfortable just pushing the Poppy into that bottom lane. And she's going to be an incredible potential setup champ when we come to 5v5 fights over objectives later on. Because if you can take away 2 parts or even 1 critical part like the Taliyah from this fight before it even breaks out, then Genji's composition becomes so much tougher to pilot because it needs to be all together to set up that single target blow up.
I think so much is going to be on the bot lane because the power of the Ashe ult and the Poppy ult, I think really when you're setting up objectives, you'd much rather rely on those. Otherwise, anyone charging, like the Xin Zhao doesn't help with that. If you're trying to approach in the Taliyah, it's going to be so hard. I do think the Nautilus pickup was good because even though Poppy's good into like every engage support, she's much better into like Rel or even Leona. She does a great job of blocking the Zenith Blade. We've seen a lot of this matchup with the Nautilus and the Poppy, and often the Dredge line still comes through, still closes enough distance for you to follow up afterwards.
Yeah. And just flash on him, get a root. There's a lot of different plays you can make with the Nautilus there in that bottom lane. Ashe still so incredibly powerful at level 1 to control lane swaps and where you want things to be, where vision is going to be. I think an ideal world for the side of Genji is to have that Rumble laning into the Cassante to come online early so they can start to snowball this one into the mid game where they've got a lot of setup for that big equalizer.
Well, guys, we're ready here. Here are the drafts for game number 2. Genji on the blue side. Will they make it work this time around? Let's hop into the rift for game 2. Game 2 of the LCK Cup 2025 Finals. And Genji, as I mentioned, they move over to the blue side. They had a good draft from the red side in game 1, but some throws here and there, back and forth. There was a very chaotic game number 1. And we'll see if our teams take a little deep breath, can remove some of those mistakes, and have a bit of a cleaner contest in the second one.
Just playing respectfully here with this Ashe. Weren't fully grouped. It's more of a, I want to call it a 5-point start, but a little bit more split of a start here for Hunter Life, and with Genji kind of balled up as a fist into this one. They could not actually contest. Scary when you get cut off like this with a volley, though, to an Ashe. So won't be punished for it, but when some of your players get the recall off and others don't, it's a disaster. That hurts too.
Didn't actually get to finish it off there. Oh, another sweeper. Okay, they're good. But the information is still there for Genji. You know at this time with Viper and Delight at the top side where they're going to end up going. And Genji happy to avoid them on the level 1 to no surprise.
I'm just such a purist, I guess. I really would have figured, even though it's tough to play Corki, Nautilus into this comp, that you'd still want to have the Rumble going into the Cassante, but instead they're going to send Ruler bottom side here. The vision came through a little bit later, like the hard confirm, but I think they definitely could have opted otherwise. And you're going to have that swap to come through as Keen is going to get as much experience as he can here. We'll still have a slight lead, arguably, with this. It's a bit of a fight.
Yeah, we're just fighting in the jungle. Kenny has to flash away. Duro's level 1. Can they do much here as, you know, Zeus also level 1, but he is Cassante. It does look like Cannon will be able to lock this one down. And
yeah, a little bit tense. I think they committed a lot of their resources onto Canyon only for him to flash away. Keen.
Okay. Getting in
flash for XP
of the XP. That's all. That's all you need to do.
Hey, he got some last hits too.
Yeah.
Look at that gold lead.
Flash overrated.
Lane swaps, man. They the things top laners have to do for a crumb of XP.
Poppy on a 7-game winning streak. Keep in mind that Duro is one of the guys that did win twice. He's not playing it this time. Chovy in a bit of trouble here, as Chovy trying to flash away from a Xin Zhao. That's not really going to work, as Talia really struggles in this champ at the moment, as Chovy going to get some help from the jungle. Canyon coming up, and now he's like, all right, I'm chasing you both down. He's going to be looking for Peanut, who is a bit lower. As Q just coming up, a little bit of burst into Zeka, but no kill pressure. But Canyon will save the life of Chovy at least.
Yeah, I feel like I was so patient from Canyon waiting with the Vault Breaker, but also Chovy hitting every skill as he needed to. The seismic shove, keeping him alive.
Well, this exchange, really I mean, Chovy has teleport, so he can just come straight back to lane. His health bar and trade for the enemy junglers means Peanut may lose a little bit of control of his jungle. You can see Delight's going to come over there and actually protect. As things were looking a little bit risky, Peanut was like, can I just come in here? Canyon said no, but then Delight came over. Now we may have a bit of a skirmish here once more, as Peanut's getting a little bit healthier.
You take a look at the win rate here of Vi versus Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao is one of those champs that just kind of feels like a fill-in at times, but very good at creating space, obviously. You get your circle down, you can't die, you can kind of just stand in the front, you'll be a huge nuisance to anyone who is trying to close the gap.
I think also really good at disrupting with the ult. You know, obviously can't be focused down, but can knock people away. But it was Canyon who, 2 of those 3 wins against Xin Zhao was him, so definitely not a stranger to the matchup.
It feels good in Divide because that single target, if it's you feel great.
Oh, Zeka even going to flash away from the Nautilus. Felt like a little bit of an overreaction, but you can see how low he does get. So
yeah, I think
trying to stay alive without his TP.
Chovy didn't really have cooldowns anymore, so I don't think he would have died. But I think not having TP, it's kind of one of those moments where it's like you either have to recall or you die. Both feel really bad, so he just flashes to kind of secure either his life or at least a bit of health.
We'll show up here, get some of this XP. Looks like Zeka will not be denied that cannon, as Chovy really wanted to stop him from getting that experience there, or that gold. We're doing cannon watch, Jonas Strong. I was like, are we going to get this one? Yeah, this early game has looked slightly GENG favored. Obviously, there have been some incremental advantages gotten across the board here. And the fact that Rumble was able to pick up that extra gold in the top side is really what you see. 6 CS up right now over Zayas. They do end up laning against each other. So even though it's less than a Rumble would like to have, he's not that far behind the curve of where Rumble would want to be in this matchup. The Corki having an advantage, though, is massive here. Already has the tier picked up. So heading into this mid game, we're still far from it, but the early game is looking pretty stable for GENG's composition.
Yeah, reminds me of something that just happened less than a half hour ago.
Yeah. All they have to do is just not trickle in one at a time into a top lane fight, and probably pretty good for them. You see, Peanut was just started the Dragon, but I feel like he's behind in the jungle by a couple of camps, and I don't think really in a position to take this when both, you see both solo laners from GENG move over.
Pretty unusual to see a group up like this for Dragon first over Grubs, but Peanut felt like he didn't have enough control on the top side, so went over there, but like you said, a little bit far behind. They get the fast rotation. Remember, there's a Talia in this game who has level 6, so can join either objective very quickly. Look at how much vision control GENG has over the Dragon and how much control in general they have over the Grubs. They have both sides of the map under their power.
Trying to flash to make a play here onto the Nautilus. Duro is getting quite low. There's the knockup from it, and the volley gets the kill. First blood to Viper, but immediately traded back as Ruler will get one of his own. And honestly, that just kind of feels good for Ruler, who is getting extremely fed at this point in time.
Yeah, bit of a misplay from Delight, but honestly, Duro countering him quite well. The interrupt on the dash, I think they expected, hey, quick kill, Poppy slam it in the wall, it's all good. But the delay means it's a 1-for-1, and with HLE, we're trying to find an advantage. It just ends up in a trade, and Canyon will look for those Grubs.
And now they get Grubs. There's no cross map. Like, Peanut was up on the top side. He's just trying to clear the rest of his jungle here after they give Grubs up. And they are going to be able to then rotate over, use the Talia to fight over Dragon as well. They have so much vision over the Dragon that is now slowly being cleared out by Delight as he works his way in. And GENG playing both sides of the map incredibly well. This Rumble Prio into the Cassante really getting insane value, as I was hoping to see in the draft. After the lanes swapped into each other with Australian, ended up cleaning that one up. As, this fight ends up being a 1-for-1 here. Canyon does join in. Can offer a lot of extra damages. We're not done yet.
Viper in a lot of trouble here. The dive comes in, but Ruler was tanking the turret. Got a little bit dicey. Duro as well got to take 2 turret shots, but nobody's here to punish, so the dive still works out. They get the kill on the Viper, and they deny him even more CS.
He has no farm. Like, he's 30 CS down.
Yep, in a really rough spot, and especially considering you're taking an Ashe, a pick that is so strong in the early levels.
Uh-oh.
Peanut.
Flash on in with the harpoon, and they're just getting in there on the Peanut, who is in a really rough spot. Even the Talia wall making his way over. Gonna flash the wall, does Peanut. Zeka in an awkward spot himself on top of some rocks. They want to turn this one around. Going for the big sweep here on the Keen, onto Canyon, because they're trying to take down Peanut, but they can't quite do it. Even the sweep to save his life. It's a double kill for Zeka. As immediately Helm Life Esports find an angle and pick up 2 kills.
GENG led that play with such confidence there, but Canyon didn't have his ultimate, didn't have the ability to lock down Peanut and guarantee the kill, and HLE just moved to respond.
Look at Canyon's experience bar. Look at how close he is to 6. He doesn't have it. And, you know, Peanut going into the fight did have level 6 advantage, so knew the Crescent Guard would be able to buy him some time, even though the overheated Rumble was wailing on him. And then everybody just protects him. Like, his whole team is his bodyguard. Zeka comes in and tosses out the Emperor's Divide. And it was a very scrappy skirmish. Not quite as egregious as some of the mistakes we saw from GENG in Game 1 or some of the plays we saw from Canyon in the playoffs. But Ruler just tanks this turret here. He's got the resistance shred, and that final fadeaway shot will get the kill. Things getting a little bit messier in this situation because, like I said, no ult here yet for the side of Canyon. Peanut has pushes Canyon away, and that actually is quite significant because it buys him a lot of space here. Zeus comes over, Peanut flashes out, and then they commit even harder onto the Xin Zhao, and Zeka is here to peel, and they're just so hell-bent on forcing this fight to work. They lose a lot of the advantage they had moments before.
I feel like it was such an opportunistic play where, like, clearly Canyon's about to hit 6. He's like, we'll pick up the Scuttle, I'll hit 6. Scuttle's gone, oh, Peanut's there. And then when Keen commits the flash, it's kind of like, well, we've committed flash, we have to kill him, but it just feels like they keep committing more and more. It's almost like a certain play we saw last game where, like, something about sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
I mean, any Pantheon plays that happened recently, any Xin Zhao plays that happened in the mid lane recently. It's been a lot of overextensions from GENG. Confidence can be a huge boon, but sometimes overconfidence can be your downfall, so.
Yeah. I think Coach Game's probably going to be like, man, we talked about this, and
Where's the discipline?
We fixed it, you know? Like, we were so clean against DK, and now it's like, huh. I mean, they're still in a really good spot, and Ruler is incredibly fed, so I don't want to, like...
The worst thing as a coach...
They're doing fine, but it's not looking clean.
The worst thing as a coach is when, like, a mistake happens with the team, you go into scrims, you iron it out. Oh.
This hook comes in, and you can't totally deny the Nautilus. Duro not level 6 here. And again, Viper just kind of gets zoned away from the wave.
Yeah, the worst thing as a coach is, you know, you have an issue in stage games, you go into scrims, you sort of iron it out, everything's looking good. Go to stage games again, and the same issue just shows up.
Yeah.
I thought we solved this.
Well, what's scary is, okay, I don't think Canyon saw him actually. He's got a control word here.
Zeka's in a lot of trouble as Canyon just kind of waltzing on in, and, you know, Peanut was just there. So they're like, oh, this area of the map is clean. Nope, it is absolutely not. Zeka angling towards his jungler, and the other jungler was there. So an easy kill now for GENG, and that should be 6 grubs to them. It's a nice little combo onto the light. I think he's fine.
Should be here.
Fine is a strong statement.
Yeah.
He doesn't die.
He's
but,
okay for now.
He's alive.
Yeah.
He was not sent to the death chamber, but these grubs certainly will be, and that is going to be 6 grubs for GENG, the full stack. They got the dragon as well. Every single objective has belonged to them. Their objective control has been massive. Vision control has been super big, but it's Canyon's pathing that's been the biggest, and Viper is still so significantly far behind in farm, and more plate gold is going over to Ruler. 6 grubs, and the rest of his team shadowing here to guarantee can pick up 1 more plate. I mean, what are you supposed to do against this one? You know, you just have to kind of sit and take the L.
The thing is as well, I mean, he has cleanse, obviously his expectation into... But it just means, like, your usual recourse is if someone's stepping up that aggressive, you throw the Ash Arrow, but all you're doing is burning a summoner at most if he doesn't dodge it with his Valkyrie. And with the Triforce as well, he's just shredding these towers. It's 12 minutes in the game, and it's already starting to feel really dire for Helm Life Esports.
Yeah, it feels like GENG, you know, there have been some little mistakes in this game still, but it's a larger lead, and they're utilizing the pressure better. I feel like they have a lot more tools to make plays with as well. So they're doing that well, as Viper's just going to get hit with the combo here, as Zeus is trying to make space in the front line, but that turret's about to go down, and Zeus might just die first, as in he goes with the ult. And, you know, he went down as a warrior, but he still goes down. Could have just tried to flash away, but instead he will just die alongside the tower.
I think Ruler was taking so long to kill the tower. Zeus saw an angle to make a big play, but, you know, the tower was still very low, and ultimately he gets the flash of Ruler, but it's still a huge advantage. Coming up on almost a 4,000 gold lead before 14 minutes.
Yeah, and everyone is just working on the same page here. Duro drops down the ult instantly there as well, and you know, Delight was like, okay, Zeus is going in, maybe I can split this team in half with my ultimate, starts channeling the Keeper's Verdict, and then he's hoping maybe they can then escape with Zeus potentially, but it's just all a little bit too slow, a little bit too late. So go back to all the way earlier here where Canyon wrapped all the way around. And Zeka's like, oh man, gotta go over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, this...
It's one of these situations where sometimes having some vision can backfire more than having no vision, because you don't trust the fog, but he trusted his jungler being there, the vision there, and it ended up backfiring, him just walking in to the Vi, and then here, just chunking Viper Sui's away, and Ruler's tanking the tower for a good amount, so Zeus thinks he has an angle, but the flash out, the Valkyrie just baits him in.
That was a really nice play from Duro to guarantee they can get that equalizer down onto Viper and continue to push that issue. Really clean play from a player who started off so shaky this year, started off not confident, and a lot of big mistakes, big miscommunication between him and his AD carry, him and his jungler, but now it just feels like they've been playing together for years.
I mean, that's the thing as well, is like, they have Vi Nautilus into an Ashe with a Rumble as well. Like, they can do that in any fight. Just press one of the ultimates on her, equalizer on top. If Viper survives, which is not guaranteed and probably unlikely, he's not fighting. He's just done.
Yeah. Just feels like the blue side is really enjoying kind of getting very strong compositions and having it play itself out very well. And it's been GENG both times, though, that has been able to get leads and utilized it much better this time around. Duro, not expecting all of those players from Hom Life Esports to be quite that close. Meanwhile, big committal from Hama on the bottom side of the map, and Ruler's just going to take more turrets. He's just playing a PvE game. He had to deal with the Cassante that one time. And, of course, dove Viper the other time. Gonna take down the turret, and now he's Valkyrieing in as Viper desperate to try to save the turret. It's not gonna work out for him.
Yeah, you guys are all bottom side. I'm gonna push the mid turret. Oh, you think you can defend the mid turret? 2,000 gold behind? I don't think so.
I mean, I feel like the worst sort of play is not just like, okay, we lose something and nothing happens. It's when you react to it and you still lose it. Like, they TP bot and they run at them, and I mean, I guess they got Nautilus Flash. Great. They also lose mid tower and they lose barrier from Viper. It just feels like HLE are clutching at straws at the moment. Yeah. And, you know, game one, we had that lead. GENG made some mistakes and managed to bounce back. I feel like you will really need some massive, just really severe mistakes from GENG for HLE to have a look at on this game.
Also, they got the teleport, you know, Keen went topside, pushed that wave in, so there's just no prio here whatsoever for Hanwha Life for this upcoming Herald that gave them a free reset. You can see Canyon is coming back now, has his boots, you know, even grabbed an extra longsword with his Sundered Sky. So, I mean, he's ready to fight. He's got some extra stats here. They get the free vision around this Herald, and Keen's just chilling. Like, if they come at us, we have such amazing turn. Chovy doesn't have his ultimate or his TP, but he, with his passive, can get up there pretty quickly. And this is just hopeful here, I think, for Hanwha Life to try to contest this Herald right now.
Yeah, I think for them, they have to send it at some point. They're going to choose right now to do it. We'll see if it works out for them. The answer is absolutely not so far. Zeka does get here with his TP, but the fight's already over when Zeus gets chunked that much. And so the Herald goes over. They get the TP out of Zeka. And Hanwha Life Esports, again, clutching at straws, not really finding much. And GENG, I feel like you can still be confident about their position in this series, though, because from red side, they got a lead. Yes, they threw it. But now they're just dominating from blue side. So as long as they, again, just cut down on the mistakes, continue to get early leads, they're like getting all the objectives as well. They got everything in this game, a lot of game one, both early dragons. If you can continue with that pressure, I feel like they're in a good spot. Just got to clean it up a bit.
You know, and especially on the back of that win against D+, where there's 3 games in a row, really, of GENG controlling the game, having the advantages. just now feels like a 5-game streak where the early game has been their domain. And it's really the form we have missed from this team for such a long time. And we kind of talked about it yesterday. The last time we saw them in this sort of form was that first series against HLE right at the start of the LCK Cup, the first match.
Absolutely. First game was definitely winnable. This game feels unlosable. And, you know, right now with Dragon Control as well, 2 minutes before it even spawns, GENG are like, man, I've pretty much gotten everything we can get with the advantages we have, so we're just looking for people. If you think you can get vision near any of these objectives, we will engage on you, we will fight you, we will kill you. Yeah. And if you don't contest that vision, we'll have vision everywhere, we'll have eyes everywhere. Look at the top 3 wards they have on the top side of the map for nothing. Like, Baron spawns in 7 minutes. They have vision all up there, so no one can stop this pushing rumble. So Keen gets free sides here. No one can collapse on him. And then they come in and look to skirmish here around the Dragon and try to push vision on the other side as well.
Yeah, you see Peanut was just waiting in the brush there. And this kind of feels like the sort of play you have to go at this point. It's desperate, but like you kind of have to bank on someone showing up somewhere and just, you know, you set up like a death brush or something. Peanut's been waiting here a long time.
Hello, he says, as in he goes with the Crescent Guard, and Chovy not having his flash. I don't think he's going to be able to get away from this one. So many members coming in, the Poppy ult as well. And that is a shutdown for Zeka, so the desperation pays off. There's no Baron. We're just talking about the objectives, what's not on the map. And HLE Esports are the one that go for the sneaky play and claw their way back in. The arrow gonna hit Ruler. He's got Cleanse. He wants to try to shut down Viper, but now he's got to flash away from a Cassante as he's all alone here, desperate to try to take out Viper, and he will be able to. I feel like Viper absolutely should have just let Zeus handle that. Instead, he goes down in the tree.
That's definitely an example of an AD carry really wanting that shutdown, trying to hover around. You can see he was so back and forth about it, like, I don't want to get hit by the rocket. But in the end, it does end up backfiring. And, you know, you burn the summoners of the core keep, you also lose your AD carry summoners. The play on a Chovy, they don't burn his flash or anything. They don't really get anything off it. And, you know, Peanut spent so long waiting for this play, easily like a minute and a half. Like, the actual gold you get from this doesn't even feel that weird. Oh, yeah. You know?
He maul-wronged this one for sure.
Yeah.
I love the emote, at least. You know?
Like, that was good.
Top of the morning, too.
When you see what else is happening on the mini-map, right? It's Ruler pushing deep, getting a good trade into Viper. He actually got abandoned by Keen, because Keen was also, after the wave was fully pushed in, kind of shadowing here as well and trying to clear up some vision on the top side of the jungle. The moment he leaves, that's when Zeus strikes here. I don't know if we'll call it a Ruler spot in this situation since he did get the kill, but very far forward there after Keen left, and it's a really nice opportunistic move from Zeus. So 2 small wins here, but again, it feels like the amount of time Peanut spent plus the fact that both summoners down a Viper, he still dies, means you're really just not trading up, unfortunately, but at least you got something.
Well, this time, Chovy's going to be able to Weaver's Wall his way to safety. And that's going to feel very good. Really, still the biggest lead is in the AD carry role. And HLE Esports have to do something about that. Currently, their only damage dealer is Zeka.
Oh, no. Peanut.
He just got away. He got away with it.
And Peanut just showed bot. Oh, I mean, it's the worst possible timing. I was going to say, you know, Ruler having the most gold, being down summoners, potential for, like, you know, if you catch them on Atakan, if you're able to engage on them and catch Ruler, that is maybe a win con, but Peanut shows bot again, trying to kill Chovy. They lose the Atakan buff. Herald is pushing top. It's not looking good.
The X Factor is definitely the Herald here. I mean, you can't out-trade this.
They're even looking for a potential dive. I mean, Kenny's got Atakan, so certainly threatening it at least. Delight trying to create space and deny the Herald charge. It's not going to happen. That's 1 0 turret and 1 regular turret to be taken down on the top side. So GENG really trying their best to snowball as much as possible. The arrow is very much on point as pulled back is Keen as the stun lasts basically forever, but that is just the Atakan buff taking down 200 gold over to their side as they take a bit of extra damage. Viper and Peanut thinking about continuing this fight, but Ruler just a bit too scary at this point in time.
So withdraw for a Cassante, and the push continues, you know? GENG are so ahead, they're so oppressive. This is why they've been called often that boring team I was referencing, especially in the older times, where they just, when they get ahead, they kind of push advantages and get vision everywhere, and then if they overextend, if you can call this an overextension, everyone's nearby. Like, the only reason why Keen is this far up is because he knows his team can back him up, and he has Autocon buff, so cool, we'll trade. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, the fact he has TP as well, Like you can see with some low health bars, HLE are looking, but the 15-second sort of recall from Keen, he can just TP in after that, so you can't even commit to like a longer play to make the fight happen, especially with tier 1 mid still being up. There just wasn't very much space for it. And it kind of feels like these little wins for HLE, they're trying to be proactive, but they've done nothing yet that has really rewarded them. And, you know, they are at least trying, but I'm struggling to see a play that's really going to get them back firmly into this game, because for now, it just seems very GENG favored.
Yeah, I mean, there is one thing, I guess, that HLE can be happy about. That's really just the fact that the lead has stagnated a little bit. It's kind of been the same for a long time, but GENG, again, they're so good. They have been good, at least in this game. They've been clean about getting their lead and sticking with it and not overextending and really just trying to take little wins here and there. They're still very much in control of this one. They put down the Weaver's wall, and that is a very nice equalizer as well. Man. That gigantic shove! Delight and Zeka taking so much damage, and it's up to Zeus to just try to create some space, but he's just going to be burned down. Another shove comes through. Crescent Guard has to be used from Peanut just to try to survive.
The one thing that HLE, the comp could do in the late game incredibly well is 5v5 fight front to back with that Azir damage, with the Ashe. But when you're this far behind, you never get the fair fight. You never get to actually take said 5v5 because the enemy team is diving in, taking somebody out of the fight, cutting them in half with Weaver's Wall, sieging with Otacon buff. When you're this far ahead, there is no 5v5, there is no angle, there is no Azir damage, there's no element of scaling. As you can see here, Jovi just knocks Peanut out of the equation. Look at this equalizer. You want to retreat, but you're stuck against the wall, and the wall is on fire. And they just start with Zeus, and they win the front-to-back fight before Peanut can really show up, and then he's just a ragdoll in this one.
You know, there's so many great CC abilities that I've seen used to set up a Rumble ult, but I've never seen like the Weaver's Wall used to just cook a team in that way. It was so beautifully done by GENG and really made HLE's life uncomfortable now. But oh, you're just dead.
Well, that's the ruler spot right there, actually. Viper going to get a little taste himself.
Well,
has to use his flash.
He doesn't die, but now flashless. I don't think he's long for the world in the next fight, especially since you have like Canyon and Duro with flash.
Yeah. I feel like if the gold across the board was a little bit more even, then having your Ashe not doing a crazy amount of damage is okay because you have this Azir, but that's not really the case right now, you know? They don't really have... The Ashe doesn't exist, and Zeka's not far enough ahead, and the whole team is too far behind. Canyon going very deep for this one. The Arrow even gonna try to punish that as they thought they saw an angle. And with Chemtech Soul about to be taken down here by GENG, HLE feeling the pressure. They know they got to make some kind of play, but now down an Ashe Arrow, you got to say Viper's really just not going to find much use in this one. We'll see if he can make something happen. As over the wall, in goes Peanut, but it's not going to happen this time around. He doesn't have the Crescent Guard either. Down goes the HLE Esports jungler, and into the backline, they isolate Zeka. Nice sweep, but it's just to keep him alive for just a moment here. Should be a very clean ace to the side of GENG, and that should be the game number 2.
Yeah, even without the equalizer so far ahead, they can easily win that fight. It was a beautiful buffer there by Canyon on the knockaway with his ult to lock them down, but I think the writing's been on the wall for a while in this game. GENG with a convincing answer for that game 1 that HLE won.
I love this draft from GENG. It's a standard Talia Vi draft, but there's so many elements of it that aren't expensive for Fearless. You played Nautilus, you played Corki here, and you know, at the end of the day, this is what a blue side draft should look like. The execution this time for GENG clean enough to take out the Nexus. And we've got a series on our hands here for the inaugural LCK Cup. And I was worried after game 1. I was worried after the mistake that Canyon made, level 5. Because, you know, you mentioned usually those mistakes don't rear their heads again when you come back into a big series like this. It looked like they were fixed, but you had a lead in game 1, you lose. You had a massive lead in game 2. If they started to snowball advantages back over to HLE in this one, it feels like the series just cooked 3-0, but they stayed resilient, and that mid game was incredibly strong. Great vision control, insane side lane pressure, so much setup to just let Keen push far in the jungle because he had wards there. He was often shadowed even by Ruler, who had mid push the entire time.
I think this lead we had in the Corki was kind of just absurd. Not only just the goal, but the level lead as well. And it felt like Viper was just never in this game. Never in this game. And at that moment with a 1v2, that Ruler ended up killing him. Such a tilter. I feel like You know, in the series, fine, you know, Viper's veteran will recover, but in the game, that's the moment where you just know it's over.
And it was over for Hama at that moment in time, but I'm glad we have a series on our hands as somebody will be correct in the predictions tonight. We'll see who will get it right, but tied up here 1-1. We'll take a break and have the space. We'll be right back.
막아줄까 생각 볼게.
아들 이 없어 지금.
벽으로 막아줄래? 벽으로 막아줄래? 어차피
나
MCC 못하거든?
진짜 노공이야.
아, 뚱아성 하기 싫어. 나 지금 벽 칠게.
먹자. 먹어볼래? 일단 먹어볼래?
야, 짜오 높여, 짜오 높여. 높여. 뒤에 딴데. 야, 썰 할만하거든?
천천히 볼게요. 아들. 아들 높을. 아 이거 상태.
아직은? 애쉬 높여.
LC 높을.
아, 괜찮아.
괜찮아. 이거 끝낼만해 형들?
들어가면 끝날 것 같아. 밑에 탈게.
근데 미드 가자.
나이스.